Hello again everybody, welcome back to another repair video. This is a case of damaged in transit in the post. Recently acquired this Minolta 7S. It was it arrived with a broken front end. As you can see, the rest of the camera's okay, it's just the front of the lens is hanging off. Need to try and figure out how to get this back together. I've also got a little collection of bits here. I've got an old battery out of it. This is an original PX625, so this is an original Mercury battery, which I presume is probably going to be dead. Fortunately, it doesn't look as though it's leaked at all in the battery compartment. That's the cover, and the battery cover is, the battery compartment is relatively clean, but we will give it a bit of a clean up. This was loose, which I presume is the front of the lens, and there's a couple of these little round things that I found, and this part was in the case. It came with an ever-ready case. This is the sort of the bottom part of it, and this was sitting in the top part of the case. So I'm just having a look to see what we can do to try and disassemble this front end. I've used the lens wrench, because on the front of the lens here you can see that there's a notch on either side. So I'm just trying to see if that unwinds and will give us some better access into the inside. It's going, so try and get my hand out of the way. So that's turning quite freely now, so hopefully that's unscrewing. I think this could be quite a nice camera. The shutter seems to be working okay. It's stuck on the B setting at the moment, but it's got a 45mm 1.8, so that's quite a nice lens if we can get it working properly. And this has gone stiff again. So again, you just get your lens spanner. It's got the flat teeth on it. Put it in the slot. That makes life quite a lot easier. They're invaluable, these lens spanners, they're really useful. I dare say you can make one yourself, but there's the slot. It's about 4 in the morning when I'm messing about with this. Go back to the screwdriver again. Coax a bit more life out of that. It is definitely unscrewing. I don't know very much about this camera, but Minolta have got, sort of going through a bit of a Minolta phase at the moment. I certainly like the SRT range. They were very good cameras. It's a shame the Minolta kind of dropped out of the market, but I suppose they still live on in Sony, although not in name. But I think Minolta cameras were very well built until the sort of the 80s, when they all went electronic and push buttons rather than dials, and really dependent upon batteries. So hopefully this ring will just unscrew. I don't want to cause any more damage than I have to. I'll get a lens rubber in there. You've all seen these before. Various sizes of lens rubber. There we go, that's a better way of doing it. Okay, so that part comes off. I'll lose these little bits. I should really get a pill box out for them. There's 3 of them, I think, on the back of the lens. Right. Taking that out, what does that achieve? Is there any reason to think? You can see there's one there and one there and one there. My thinking is that they attach to here somehow. There's sort of a mark there, and a sort of a thing there and a thing there. So I'm assuming that's how it attaches. Okay, push that in and then that comes out. So there's the other screw that I was looking for. So, again, tweezers come in handy. Just to pick it up, put it with the others. So that's a screw. Right, that fitting is just a screw fitting. So, screwdriver onto that. That's way too big. Small screwdriver. Not long enough. That's going to be too long. That might be about the right size. I think it's too thick. Let's try and turn that. Okay, I'll break out some other tools. Right, so we've got to work out what bits go where with this front end, and then how we can hold it all together again. So these 2 rings, the back one is marked with f-stops. So that's obviously controlling the f-stop. And looking at it, it has this cutout in the ring. And there's 2 options for it. There's one here and there's another one up here. It doesn't fit that one. Because it's the closest ring and this is the shortest, I'm assuming that it sits on there like so. So that action is controlling the aperture. So when it's all the way around there, it's on the A position. As you can see on there, it shows the A position. And when you turn it all the way around the other way, it moves the this little cog inside of there right the way around, and that's showing 1.8, so that's obviously the aperture ring. This next ring shows shutter speeds on the outer part of it and EV values, I'm assuming, on the inside, which will show through this little slot. So this has also got a slot in it. I'm assuming that sits on that one. So that's controlling our shutter speed. So where it is at the moment, it's sitting on B. So if I wind the camera on and then fire the shutter, that should be the shutter open, and that's the shutter closed. So if I turn this ring to another value rather than B, if I turn it to say a 30th and wind the shutter on, right, that seems to be in order. So the next part is this bit, and this is obviously the sensor for the light meter. That's what these wires are for. That's what's connecting the light meter cell to the camera. So this obviously fits on somewhere around here. where these three are going to line up. So that's the next bit to figure out. And then obviously that screws on and couples to these parts that I've removed. There's two of them there and there's one of them there. So we're looking for two slots opposite each other and one slot in the bottom. So looking at that, we've got this sort of hole here, and we've got this other one. Sorry, I knocked the camera then, I think. We've got one over here, and we've got one down here at the bottom. So I'm assuming, I may well be wrong, that these little brass fittings fit into there somehow, and that's where the main breakage has occurred. So quite how these fit in there, I'm not quite sure. I would think that this one should be at the bottom, down. It's going to sit in there. There's the ASA selector, which is just a filter that goes over the sensor. So there's the filter, so obviously that's set at a certain ASA. So there's a hole for the ASA selector to go through, which you can see down here. So that sits in there like that, and this bit is at the top. I know that from pictures I've seen with the camera. So that will sit on there somehow. And it looks as though the back of this is attached before this part goes on. So we need to attach this back part. I'll take this out again. Take this out. As I said, that one needs to go over that side. So that one is actually going to sit at the bottom there. Fairly tight. Might need to unsolder this if it is soldered. Looks like there's some sort of join here behind this part. You can move that up a bit so you can see it. This is the two wires that run to the sensor. It's held in place with like a metal clip here. That's just folded over, so we can unfold that. There's another one there as well that we can just unfold, and then we should be able to free the wires out from there, and also from here, just by using a bit of leverage on that clip, and that will come out of there. So that gives us a little bit more room then to play about with this bit and to try and get it sort of lined up where it should be. It should be over this way a bit more. Feed some more of that wire through until we can get that bit sort of lined up. And obviously those screws would then screw into the bit at the bottom. So there's something like that. I'm not sure where this part goes. It looks like it's some sort of switch or lever or something, but I honestly don't know on that part. Okay, I've deduced the order in which these go in, and I have to try and mount these little brass fittings into this plate here. So as you can see, there's 3 screws here which I'm going to take out, and and see if that gives us access to that plate. That's one. That's two. That is the third one. As you can see, I've unscrewed the front of this lens element, so that also means that we can give that a clean as well. There's the torch. So we can have a look and see. No, not too bad, it's just dirty. You can see on there it's not really fungusy, it's just dusty and dirty, so hopefully that will clean up quite well. So I've taken that off, and as you can see there, we've got the shutter, access to the shutter. The shutter's fine. And then behind that will be the iris. So I want to see whether this plate will just lift off, or whether it's going to make life even more complicated for us. There's that self-timer on this side. That shouldn't affect us too much. As you know, on these old cameras is the self-timer. We've also got a PC connection over here as well for flash. I'm hoping that this will just lift off, lift out, and we'll leave the rest behind, not giving us too many problems. See, that one's quite low. Be careful with that one. And we should be able to lift this up hopefully. The thing seems to want to come out. And we're back again with the next bit of this one. Using a couple of pairs of pliers, I've managed to get the third sort of tie-in thing out of here. So that liberated me this long thread and another one of these little things that we have to try and refit. This is where it broke. I don't know if that's going to focus on that because it's so small. I'll put it in my hand, maybe you can see it. This is what the front of the camera lens screws into. So to get into that, I decided to take this part off, just like the cover to the shutter. This is the bit that those have to fit back into in case I needed to get to the back of them. And obviously that's now revealed the shutter mechanism itself. There you go. This is the cocking lever on all these sort of copal type shutters, or this is a Seiko shutter. They all seem to have this issue of jumping up when they feel like it. See, that sits in there. When you wind on, it moves across like so, and it should lock into place like that, and then when you press the shutter release, it then fires the shutter. Disappointing that it's plastic. I thought that bit would have been metal, but obviously they're cost-cutting exercise going on. Here's a self-timer over this side. Here you can see the connection for the flash sync up here. So this is the self-timer. So we need to keep that bit down, so I'm going to put this plate back on. This is obviously the shutter speed. Obviously, I keep on saying obviously in all of these videos, it's not obvious at all. This is the shutter speed controller, and this sits against this peg. So as you change the shutter speed, you can see that this peg is moving along these teeth. and then it follows back down again. But that should keep everything in place, he says, hopefully. So the hard part with this is how to get these little things back into where they need to mount. I might just put nuts and spacing washers in, but I don't know if you can see this particularly well, but this needs to go into these holes. There's 3 of them, one there, and one there. And from what I can remember about how it came apart, that one needs to be the long studded one, and these other 2 are just normal screws that screw into the black bit and hold the aperture and the shutter speed selectors on. This one is for the shutter speed and that one is for the aperture. So that's the next challenge, is how to, if possible, refit these into these holes. I suspect that these are made slightly smaller so they just drop into the hole, and then they're probably spread from the back using a tool, a double-sided sort of pinch tool. So I don't know whether we will be able to reuse these or just some washers with a spacer on it and something underneath and just screw up that way. Because obviously these have got to be attached to this for this part, this black part, to screw into. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment with this Minolta 7S repair.